Hello to our fellow English-speaking colleagues. Welcome to our digital event, Rendezvous with the Future. I am Asha. I'm a journalist. I'm very delighted to welcome all of you here live from Paris. And you will see that translations are available in different languages. As part of our program today is in French and some sections in English, as we will be welcoming international speakers. So please switch to your relevant channels.
We have different languages available. You may select any language that may be appropriate for you to be able to follow what we're saying today. We're going to have discussions, panels, solutions. We're going to be addressing the main challenges that the different postal services are facing, specifically in this development, sustainable development, and we are also going to talk about the organization and also social management. We are also going to be addressing your questions, and we're also going to have Jean-Paul Forceville, and we're going to get your feedback as well. So thank you and be welcome to this platform.
So you will be able to ask your questions in English also, of course, to Jean-Paul Forceville, who will be joining us in a few minutes. And feel free to share any comments, feedback, remarks. Right, so it's time to kick off. So let's welcome the CEO of Groupe La Poste, ladies and gentlemen, Philippe Val.
Alf, how are you today? Hi, Asha, how are you doing? Thank you so much for being here. No, on the contrary, thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. I am very happy to be here, welcome you all here in Paris. As Asha already stated, to have this great premiere, we're going to have a very thoughtful reflection on the strategy by the Postal Service and our Universal Postal Service. We know that the context is very passionate for all of us. We know that e-commerce in general is a very strong force of development, and it is also a great opportunity for our postal sector. Also, we have challenges for this type of sustainable development. We know that we as citizens of the world, we need to preserve climate, and we know that we are part of the logistics, and therefore we have a very specific responsibility for us to be able to develop this sustainable development. And we need to be more and more carbon neutral as part of our service, and since we have been doing it since 2012 in order to reach this zero emissions. So we will try to continue working for us to be able to preserve the social cohesion of the different countries. So this is the background that we are seeing here. We have Upido. We have 92 countries that are member countries. 192 countries can be brought together and confronted. It is a wonderful window on the postal community. We know that UPU is the reason why we have this very important meeting today. For this reason, we need to continue working with all the postal service members for us to be able to address the future. We know that this topic, it is going to continue to be very important, specifically to remain as a very significant and relevant institution. We know that the UPU is the essential forum for us to be able to really be working with the interested parties. We know that we are going to have a discussion with the NGOs, with the society, and with other development structures as well, such as let's say the different postal services, international customs offices as well, for us to be able to involve all engaged parties. We know that this is the case of over the last years of these postal services. We are working to get the technical assistance for the cooperation amongst us all, meaning all postal services from all over the world. So we know that this responsibility is ours, yours, and also the responsibility of our UPU. We know that we need to have this meeting of postal services and interested parties all over the world, and this cooperation that needs to be done amongst us. So I have taken a look at your agenda today. It is very interesting. It is going to allow us to really be able to address key points of the postal services for the future that is about to come. And then we are also going to continue cooperating. So we are open to continue working together, and also for us to be able to really bring all of the social cohesion goals to completion, and also to continue open in the face of our relevant and stakeholders. Therefore, I would like to just really wish you to have a great work session. Be welcome, everyone. Be welcome to Paris. And well, I hope you have a great and very fruitful meeting. So, well, I know that this program is going to be amazing. This is a great agenda. So, well, maybe you can also have some fun. Of course, thank you so much, Philippe. Thank you so much for your presentation. So now we have Jean-Paul Forceville, the director for the OPA International from Groupe La Poste. So thank you, Jean-Paul Forceville. Thank you so much for being here. No, on the contrary, thank you so much. Like I said, this is a premiere for all of us, specifically for the Postal Service. Why are you holding this meeting? Well, because we thought that we needed to really, well, to get closer, since we have been a little bit more individualist and we have been a little bit far. So we know that even though we are here in a digital virtual form, well, we are still exchanging inform. So Rendezvous with the Future. Why is the title of this convention? Well, because we wanted to prepare this project. It was the moment to really spend time together for us to be able to really address the real challenges facing the post office and therefore the UPO. And also we know that the post today has a crucial role to play more than ever. Right, more than ever, the world needs the post office. The world needs the post office. We know that this COVID crisis has revealed how vulnerable our civilizations are, and also our ways of life are also vulnerable. Also, at a time when the revolution in uses and consumption patterns generated by the digital economy is abolishing distances and challenging our old practices, ways of working, and impacting our models. Jean-Paul, what are the main areas of focus for organizations to better address the major issues and challenges that we have in our world nowadays? Well, every state, every postal office has its own responsibility. However, the UPU is at the forefront in order to promote a global unified postal service that is fluid, agile, responsible, and also empowering. So actually, this is what we're going to be addressing today. We're going to be addressing multilateralism. It is a matter of sustainable and responsible world. We will also talk about innovation, passion. We need to innovate to survive. And this innovation is going to allow us to connect with the economy, with the needs of people and communities, and also to play our emancipating, unifying role. We know that multilateralism and innovation are very key topics, and we know that posts today are facing quite tough competition from giants that have accelerated their activities during this crisis, right? We are realistic, and well, if we are, of course, we are very honest, we know that we need to start putting all of our efforts together for us to be able to keep our promises. We need to always find and try to get this service quality for our clients, for citizens, as we know that citizens are looking for security, certainty, trust, and also we are now using AI. So, well, we will be also very, let's say, we will stress on quality and the human factor. And we cannot forget the fact that we are unique, and we know that we need to keep our social ties and cohesion. We are going to have an amazing program, absolutely. But before we get into this subject, I would like to tell you that we have asked TIROLE, who is a partner of the Postal Service for many years now. They have been also very good at providing us with food for thought just by addressing the challenges, as we know that we need to go towards this ecological or green digital service. Hello, I am very happy to be addressing this subject. We know that we have more and more this type of companies. For instance, we also have the need to have this type of platforms. We need to have more of a digital point. Well, at least in my city, we need to do this. And this transformation from all economies as well is very important. This is how we need to start addressing all issues. So I know that facing the competition, we need to do all of this according to the European laws on digital matters. And also, we know that right now we need to use a platform that is very important. Let's say Facebook is also being very important for political matters. We need to address employment, the environment as well. And we need to start also with the right to competition. We know that there are many platforms in the market. We also have, of course, certain markets that also need to take into account the different advertising and all of these advertisement methods, but we need to take into account the needs of the market. We know that consumers may be directly harmed if we do not provide them with quality services. Let's say in Google, we have noticed that they get profits from GPS services, from Gmail, and also they get profit from very good services. So we cannot just overlook the fact that we are actually working to really provide with better service to our clients and customers. And we also need to take them by the hand. We need to partner with our consumers. We need to also take all of their concerns into account. For instance, we know that there are certain platforms are, of course, letting us to start to think that we may need to start putting more security in place. Of course, we need to be more open to these options. In this case, we need to start using these platforms. We know that, of course, we need to preserve them. We need to stop monopolizing all of these uses. And the second subject has to do with, let's say, the warranty of just always securing that there are the best prices available. In this case, we need to also start just reflecting on economic terms, financial terms, also taking, again, prices into account. We know that, of course, digital matters allow us to also get more remittances. And that is also going to start to allow us to think that we need to start thinking about other platforms for consumers. And also, I would like to address this ecosystem. We sometimes are on one end or the other. Sometimes also we are using brokers as part of the type of, let's say, departments that are specially addressing these subjects. And also, again, well, I was addressing platforms, but at times we're using closed platforms that are absolutely closed. But we need to work with a platform that is not absolutely closed. We need to start just also taking part into this competition. What do I mean? Competition and cooperation. For instance, if you know what a marketplace is, we know that we have a market operator. At the same time, we have, let's say, for instance, Whole Foods or other products. Well, they, of course, start to compete against other services that are of the same type. Let's say we have Google Shopping and many others as well that are part of this competition. And we need to really take part into an open ecosystem, but that it's not that open. And this is for us to be able to offer these products and services. And also, we know that we need to have a very efficient user interface. We cannot overlook that, and we have many other aspects to take into account. And that is just to give you some food for thought for you to start reflecting on what are the next steps and how to make this more intelligent. The second point is related to data and AI. Of course, we do have a lot of food for thought in that regard. We need to start addressing, let's say, what is also in our minds, what's in our minds, what is of our concern. On the one hand, because platforms are just in front of us, so we need to start paying attention to them, and we need to start just making adjustments to prices based on supply and demand as well. And also we need to start to make use of other tools. We have also, let's say, the use of clicks for us to be able to get more data. And also we need to start just getting more data out of text. Another subject is that we need to give more certainty. Once we got all of this information, of course, we need to start just taking, let's say, health into account. Of course, that's one of the main markets, such as the labor market and many other markets that are also making use of data. And also, well, we know that we need to start just also seeing the creation of associations, and also religion is an important matter. Of course, we are willing to pay for certain things, but once we pay, of course, we need to have certainty, otherwise it would not be possible to make this. And also algorithmic discrimination. This is a subject that we have been addressing a lot lately. And also to address any conflicts that there may be. We may have, let's say, certain situations that may be more controversial among citizens, sexual matters, let's say the role of people. And also, well, all of this is something that is collected through platforms. And also the fact that we have also developed certain articles on how the state is willing to control the society, what are the mechanisms to control it. We know that we also need to take into account the aspects that are also related to the government. Also, if, let's say, I am in a blacklist, that means that, well, you cannot have any sort of negotiations or trading relationship with me. So as part of that, well, again, well, I would like to tell you, everyone, that I do have an article on my website on competition, specifically competition and the digital world. And, well, all of these subjects that I've just addressed are challenges for our society. So these challenges are now to develop a smart or intelligent regulation that works for the common good of people, also based on innovation. And therefore, we would be able to benefit from this in our future. Well, maybe I have already spoken a lot, but anyway, I would like to wish you all to have a very great conference. Thank you so much, Jean Tirole. So, Jean-Paul, you are here and we are ready to address multilateralism. So, we are going to address multilateralism, and I would like to address and welcome Sébastien RICHEZ and also José ANSON, who is an economist. And also, well, thank you. Good morning. Thank you, everyone. Sébastien, I will come back with you, but we would like to address the context where we know that it was created in 1874 and attached to the UN. The UPO is the second oldest international institution. That means that it is a living, breathing example of multilateralism, as Jean-Paul Forceville reminded us a moment ago. Multilateralism that runs through its veins is a condition of its existence and durability. And to put the subject back into historical perspective and refresh our memories, I propose to welcome Sébastien RICHEZ. Hello, Sébastien. Hello, Asha. Hello, everyone. Just like diplomacy, we know that postal multilateralism is part of this international cooperation. We know that it comes from a very long construction that comes from history. We know that it was also something that started. We have bilateralism as well as part of this. We know that states seeking to maintain a network of information were confronted with a double difficulty: the immensity of the distances to be covered at a time to be devoted to it, while ensuring the triptych safety, accuracy, and rapidity. These common concerns led countries, sometimes enemies, to discuss postal conditions among themselves to the point of establishing agreements to be defended or renegotiating constantly. This regaling activity, called postal diplomacy, exercised either directly by diplomats and statesmen or in delegation by postal professionals, constitutes the origin of the functions of the members of the Universal Postal Union. The Franco-British Postal Treaty of 1636, the first of its kind, dealt with the exchange of dispatches at ports and their continuity of circulation. The great bilateral agreements of yesteryear, which were juxtaposed to each other, provided a broader framework for postal relations between two nations. Until the beginning of the 19th century, they dealt with the maritime or land postal routes to be secured and the letter trade to be guaranteed. The beginnings of multilateralism, which formed a second phase, appeared with the Paris Conference in 1863. It is a continental bilateralism between America and Europe, where 50 nations representing more than 90% of the correspondence and trade outline a future international postal code. The logic of imperial legacies and territorial influences had already paved the way for restricted unions, such as the Postal Union of the Americas and Spain in 1838 and the German-Austrian Union of 1850. These unions became part of a general globalized union established by the Berne Convention in 1874 between 22 states on 3 continents, the Americas, Europe, and Africa. The General Postal Union established the freedom of transit on a single postal territory. It was then, in a third phase, the time for the affirmation of a postal multilateralism, with countries hoping for political benefits, control and facilitated communication and economic benefits. Between 1930 and 1960, the European continent experienced 3 failed attempts at postal union in complex political contexts. But the final birth of the European Conference of Posts and Telecommunications in 1959, as a new place of cooperation and preparation of international conferences, prefigured a new scale. The world scene would be that of an accomplished multilateralism, applying to border transits, to the question of tariffs, and finally to air mail routes. The Universal Postal Union was structured accordingly. The Paris Congress of 1947 created an executive and liaison commission in permanent governance conforming to the principles, and a consultative commission on postal studies was opened to all countries in 1957, and the Postal Development Action Group, created in 1991, helped with reforms in member countries. Finally, the reform of the tripartite structures at the 1994 Seoul Congress established a Council of Administration, a Postal Operations Council, and an International Bureau as complementary bodies for debate, technical expertise, and governance. These various reforms have built the foundation of the Union's organizations for discussions on the new challenges of the 21st century for operators, such as, let's say, e-commerce, remailing, e-commerce, and nature of parcels. Ladies and gentlemen, by way of conclusion, 2 lessons from history can be delivered to you. The first is your contribution to human progress as the French diplomat Louis Renault, Nobel Peace Prize winner in 1907, already pointed out in 1877, and I quote him: "The postal administrators who created the Postal Union and whose names are unknown to the public have done more for civilization and understanding between peoples than many famous diplomats." The second is the compass of the times, which indicates only one constant point of reference in international postal relations: the encouragement of multilateralism in the interest of countries within an expert and united country. Thank you so much, Sébastien, for this great piece of history. Thank you so much. So now I will start now in English to now welcome our friend.
multilateralism is a driving force for the UPU. Posts around the world together have always been at the forefront of a movement to open up and revitalize international relations. And in this very particular time that we are living, this force is showing up even more clearly. And to tell us more about this topic, I'm very pleased to welcome former economist at the UPU and founder of Upido, which is a startup active in the field of AI applied to logistics and e-commerce. José ANSON, is that correct?
It's correct. Good morning, Asha. So my story with the Post starts in 2005. The world economy, mobile telephony, and global trade were booming. The internet was already bringing us the future. And the word Post was just sending many people back to the 20th century. My story with the Post is also the Post story over the last 2 decades. Remember 3 key years. 2008, Lehman Brothers collapse and the resulting great economic and financial crisis. 2015, with the United Nations defining the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and 2020, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic year, or year zero, as I like to call it. Keep this timeline in mind. The Post will look at a much brighter future very soon again. We may have understood it only now, but the very first year of the new millennium in Insight was featured by global social, economic, financial, technological, and environmental laissez-faire. Yes, laissez-faire. This de facto laissez-faire disrupted and even disabled in one way or another the regulation organizations and agendas, such as the UN Millennium Development Goals, built in the 20th century by 20th century mindsets and institutions. Among the disrupted organizations, the Post itself. However, the laissez-faire agenda was starting to reach its limits in many areas. The great economic and financial crisis of the end of the first decade of the 21st century was going to make it clear. A paradigm shift was underway. A decade later, year zero, has unfolded a new era. An era for a better normal. An era for an open, collaborative, inclusive, sustainable, and responsible post-pandemic world. In line with the 2030 UN Agenda for Sustainable Development and its 17 goals adopted in 2015. For Post, the journey to the future has been rather bumpy since the inception of the new millennium. First, the question was, what future for Post? But how to deal with the future of Post if you focus the policy debate on the letters of the 20th century? Moving the debate behind the letter was for true postal heroes only at the time. But this is how these postal heroes found ways to show to the whole world that Post will matter behind the letter in the future too. Then came a transition period that I would call the postal frustration period, as if too few postal players dared to cross the bridge to the future during this time in between two postal worlds. You will have the postal heroes isolated on the other side of this fragile bridge. They just built and crossed, desperately calling for other posties to hurry up and join them there on the other side. Very few showed an explorer soul in spite of the promise waiting for them on the future side of postal things, on the bright side of postal things. Today, just a year after year zero, brave postal leaders, in midst of this unique fight against the pandemic, are eventually crossing the bridge to the new normal. the bridge to reshape postal future. It took almost 2 decades to build this bridge to the future of the post, when on the other side, back in 2005, before the postal hero even started building the bridge, the World Bank was telling the economist that the world post will disappear by 2015. We answered by setting up the future relevance engines for postal services. The first postal financial inclusion and trade facilitation engines at the Universal Postal Union, with compelling evidence from one of the greatest sources of development data and insights, the post itself and its big data. People were almost laughing at us at the time, but we went on building this bridge by being among the first industries in the world to start up carbon compensation too. Once this new postal sustainable development bridge was under construction, we could finally take part for the first time to the most prominent conversation and development dialogues at the highest multilateral and intergovernmental levels within the United Nations system. But most postal executives were still looking at us from the other side of the bridge. Today, they've started crossing now this resilient bridge because the pandemic has proven once for all the essential role of the post for health and for prosperity. Every day now, more and more postal managers, more and more postal decision makers are transforming the post into a true leader for bringing better development to all. Today, we know that our rendezvous with a better future is a rendezvous with the post. Thank you, Asha.
Thank you very much, José ANSON. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you to both of you. Very enlightening. I've learned a lot of things here. Thank you very much for sharing. Je vais rebasculer en français, donc je vous retrouve dans un instant pour notre prochaine séquence sur l'innovation. À tout de suite. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, postal services are historic actors when it comes to communication between people, communities, territories, and countries. They have supported political, economic, social, and cultural development for centuries. And thanks to them, the list of innovations, whether technical, human, or organizational, are quite long. Today, what are we seeing? Globalization, digital transformation, new behaviors are giving rise to new expectations and hence new obligations for postal organizations globally. Luckily, there are also new opportunities that emerge for them to stay at the forefront. So in this edition of Rendezvous with the Future, we'd like to shed some light on the major trends in postal innovation by placing them in today's context. So we are therefore very pleased today to welcome Bernhard, who will share about innovation in the age of Industry 4.0, Ali Özyigit, who will be then discussing the ambitions of a cutting-edge startup incubated by the Post, and finally Thomas Béchu, who is also here with us today on the set, who will talk about frugal innovation with the startup that they founded. So hello gentlemen, thank you for joining me. It's great to have you on the set today. So Ali Özyigit obviously is not here. He couldn't make it today, but we had a chat with him earlier a few days ago, and we'll find more later. So let me start with you, Bernhard. So I think it's an exciting time we're living in with so many transformations and innovations. We've heard earlier with José and Sébastien. So tell me how the postal sector today, can take the leadership role on a global scale.
Thank you very much, Asha, for having me. Indeed, I think that the Post can take a leadership role. First of all, let's remind ourselves what Industry 4.0 is about. It combines real objects with digital technology. And real object, that's all what Post is about. It's the delivery of items, whether it's letters, whether it's parcels. And you can find it in robots, in 3D printing, in artificial intelligence, augmented reality, you name it. Postal companies do not really anticipate these changes that transform our industries today anymore. They are living in Industry 4.0. And I think, as you just said, I think they can really be forerunners and leaders in the industry or on a global level. Let's remind ourselves of some of these technologies, whether it's in the area of digital transformation, whether it is in another area that is becoming more and more important and where you can see a lot of technology, that is sustainability. And finally, let's also talk, I hope, towards the end, about the core DNA, what really makes the Post, and I think it's really this kind of being an intermediary between the different players.
Bernhard, indeed, digital transformation, we've seen it is an essential topic, not just for postal services, but for every businesses around the globe, for everyone. What could be the benefits and what are the levers that needs to be addressed?
Yes, I think let us start with what's most important. Let us start with the customer. And we know that customers are extremely demanding. Customers want a lot. And they're absolutely right in asking for it. Customers want fast delivery, they want flexibility, they want to have a high quality of service. And you need a lot of technology to be able to provide these kind of services. So the objective here is to have an agile and automated supply chain that is able to detect, adapt, and learn as the market conditions are changing. Now let's talk about the technology which was already mentioned before. It's artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is already around for quite some time, and many posts, or all the posts, have implemented solutions, many solutions, with artificial intelligence. Again, the objective is to be more efficient, to cut costs. To cut costs, for example, when it comes to robotics, to automation, to the process optimization of their businesses. And one of the areas that stand out probably most is predictive logistics, and for a very simple reason, because there is an abundance of data available. And with better machine learning and with powerful algorithms, it is possible to derive predictive information for the supply chain. So, for example, for capacity forecasts, for network optimization, and others. Speaking about network optimization, we have here another area that I think is extremely important and will be even more important in the future. All of the posts are looking in it, and many posts are investing quite some efforts into it. It's dynamic route optimization. We all know that with the rise of e-commerce, the numbers of parcels have grown immense. In the end, this makes the last mile, the delivery process, much more complex than it has been in the past. What does that mean? That means you have a lot of variables that you have to deal with. Those variables are: how many drivers do you have? What's your supply? What's your fleet to deliver the parcels? How is the fleet composition? What's the loading capacity on the different vehicles? So you have a lot of questions. Also, what is the traffic situation? You only can really manage it if you have a powerful AI solution in place, which is dynamic route optimization. And finally, let's not forget about that. It's blockchain. Distributed ledger technology. And this is really something where all the posts are already starting to look into it. Many posts have developed already solutions and services on the basis of blockchain, which is quite natural, because if we look at the supply chain is fragmented, the supply chain is heterogeneous, the supply chain has many, many different actors in place. So with all this, you need trust, you need transparency. You need transparency for the flow of the goods, for the flow of the information, for the flow of the payments, the financial flows. All this is extremely important. And what can you achieve with blockchain today? You can achieve this trust, you can achieve this transparency, but you can achieve more. You can also achieve, for example, much more efficient processes simply because you have possibilities like smart contracting principles. And in addition to that, of course, the payment with the cryptocurrencies. So many, many areas, and this was just a snapshot.
Absolutely.
And a few of them.
And a few of them, and unfortunately we can't go through all of them in details, but I would like to highlight another very critical topic, sustainability, not just for the postal services and logistics, it goes beyond that. So postal companies have today responsibility? Can they become actually a role model in this field?
In some degree, they have already become the role models. And when you listen to José and what he said with this transformation into sustainability, to picking up on that, in the past it was the elephant in the room, the sustainability. Absolutely. Everybody knew, okay, it's costly, you have to do something, and then there were a few electric vehicles and some testing that was going on. This has changed completely. When you look at the companies and their strategies today, DHL announcing 7 billion investment over the next few years, DPD Group investing over 200 millions for getting more than 200 cities the distribution of parcels clean. So all these different kinds of things, and it doesn't stop with CO2 emissions, even though when you talk about CO2 emissions, most posts have subscribed to very, very ambitious goals that is really within 10 to 20 years going completely carbon neutral. But then look beyond it. Look at, for example, all the different other elements, and the posts have a global footprint that is enormous, unfortunately, when it comes to waste. Yeah. There's all this packaging around. So what does it mean? Posts have started to look into alternative kinds of packaging. They have started to look into, of course, recyclable ones, bio-based materials, but then also materials that are dealt with in a closed loop. So reusable materials, circular economy. And as you said, I mean, the footprint is enormous. Posts can become leaders. Why? Simply because they have such a huge footprint, but at the same time, what they're doing, they're announcing all these plans and changing their business models, how they're distributing parcels, for example, completely to be more sustainable. And thus, in this respect, they are certainly role models for the rest of the world.
Thank you, Bernhard. So in line what you've just elaborated, so we can mention the innovation proposed by PixoAnalytics, represented here by its founder, Ali Özyigit, who couldn't be here with us today. So Ali Özyigit is one of the founders of PixoAnalytics. Before we see the presentation of his business, he will tell us how the idea of PixoAnalytics was born and how he worked with Deutsche Post DHL.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be with you today. PixoAnalytics was founded to offer cutting-edge machine vision and machine learning solutions to logistics. In 2020, we were chosen the best innovative startup by Deutsche Post DHL Group among hundreds of applications worldwide. As a result, first implementation of our technology has been completed in Deutsche Post in Germany. In 2021, we won another prestigious Postal Innovation Platform's Startup Innovation Award in logistics. PixoAnalytics makes it possible to identify any item, like letters, parcels, medications, fabrics, plastics, etc. at any point in time, in any location, with its unique surface structure algorithm. The algorithm can track and trace any item without requiring any additional identifier. It can identify an object by its natural surface in milliseconds, among billions of others. We have currently 6 patents pending worldwide. Let us show the implementation of our technology in Deutsche Post in Bonn.
We are testing today in Troisdorf Mail Center of Deutsche Post our algorithms to detect fake stamps. Our algorithms identify if a stamp on a mail piece is original, fake or reused. To make this happen, we use state-of-the-art computer vision and artificial intelligence. It's already implemented by the cameras that are used for OCR and other purposes in the sorting machines, and we don't need to integrate any other devices, and the algorithm decides if a mail piece should be sent to a special chute where a security expert can look into it and say if this is really a fake stamp.
Die gefälschten Wertzeichen werden immer besser zu unserem Leidwesen. Das heißt, die sind mit bloßem Auge nicht von unseren Originalwertzeichen zu erkennen. Und insofern suchen wir nach Möglichkeiten, wie wir ohne großen personellen Aufwand möglichst 100% aller Wertzeichen prüfen können.
Wir implementieren PixoAnalytics, weil wir der Meinung sind, dass uns das die letzte Sicherheit gibt, dass unser Sortierprozess, gerade was Briefe mit Briefmarken betrifft, so sicher ist, dass uns keine Entgeltverluste jetzt und in Zukunft entstehen werden.
PixoAnalytics makes it possible to identify any item like letters and parcels at any point in time, in any location, with its unique paper structure recognition algorithm. One of our innovative fraud prevention solutions is currently being implemented successfully in DHL sorting centers in Germany.
Einer der Vorteile, das Team bei uns im Programm gehabt zu haben, ist wirklich dieses Mindset von Lernen und Vertesten anzuwenden, wirklich um die Probleme in ihrem Kern zu erkennen, aber gleichzeitig sehr hemdsärmlich dann wieder umsetzen zu können. Und das zeigt wirklich diese Kombination aus fachlicher Expertise, die aber gekoppelt wird mit diesem unternehmerischen Denken, Probleme wirklich anzupacken und lösen zu wollen.
Welche anderen Möglichkeiten wir darüber hinaus noch haben im Bereich der Bilderkennung, Track and Trace von Sendungen beispielsweise über eine Art Fingerprint, das müssen wir in der Zukunft einfach nochmal sehen. Es ist mit deutlich besseren Kameras, mit deutlich besserer Bilderkennung natürlich eine Riesenchance für uns und unser Ziel einfach jede einzelne Sendung bei uns im System zu erkennen, nachverfolgen zu können, zu identifizieren, die Laufzeit zu messen, natürlich auch den Umsatz und die Bezahlung zu gewährleisten, sind für uns Herausforderungen für die Zukunft, wo wir mit PixoAnalytics durchaus einen neuen Weg sehen.
We digitalize logistics industry with a blank sheet of paper.
Right, so Bernhard, we could see in the video how the development of e-commerce and intensification of logistics activities have increased the need to secure process, fight against fraud, which is becoming more and more important for postal operators.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And let me just say, Ali was mentioning it in his presentation. PixoAnalytics won our Postal Innovation Platform Innovation Award 2020. So we held the competition actually in January because we had to postpone it for reasons that everybody, I think, knows. And it was really a clear victory for a very simple reason. And as he explained, with this technology, what he's doing, he makes every item unique. Even though for us, they seem completely the same. One sheet of paper is the same as another sheet of paper, but it's not. It has its uniqueness to it. So it helps to fight against fraud, yes, but think about all those other opportunities you have with this kind of innovation. When it comes, for example, tracking items, you don't need a barcode anymore, or a QR code or whatever. You can simply track the parcel as it is, because it's different to all the other parcels around the world. You can use it in warehouse management. You can use it for returns, for anything you want. So this is really an amazing example of artificial intelligence applied for the postal sector.
That's fantastic. And we have another great example of frugal innovation. What is it? So it's a design philosophy that suggests doing more with less. So it prioritizes user value over technological sophistication. And today we are very pleased to have Thomas Béchu, who is with us from Afrik'easy. So it's a one-click freight solution to Africa that you launched with the support of Groupe La Poste, and which responds to this new philosophy. So it's interesting to know that you were a postman and you have been given your chance to develop your business. Is that correct, Thomas?
That's correct. Thank you for having me, Asha.
So we're happy to have you here. Before I get back to you, Thomas, let's watch the video first, discover more.
Afrik'easy is the expert. It offers the possibility of shipping your goods to Senegal with security at a lower cost. In Afrik'easy, we propose to use the proper containers for your shipping. We also make our collection in France and we get ready for departure. Our full containers are secured and shipped to Senegal in less than 11 days. In the country, our partners just make sure that we provide a quality service until your goods are also sent to Dakar. Do not hesitate, do not wait. Just contact us. 0183811599. Or you can just place an order directly in www.afrik'easy.fr.
Wow, Thomas, this is brilliant. How did you get this idea?
Thank you, Asha, for asking me. The idea came up naturally after Alan, the other co-founder of Afrik'easy, and myself tried to send merchandise to our family and relatives in both Cameroon and Guinea-Bissau in sub-Saharan Africa. And in terms of kilo, it was overrate to the postal allowance, so we figured out to find something else, another solution, and only the informal sector actually offers a solution for individuals like us who want to ship through ocean freight. And the experience turned out to be so deceptive with parcel goods that never reaches its destination, no insurance whatsoever. And we were, as you say, we were a postman, and we wonder who better than La Poste can offer a strong logistic network for the African diaspora in France to connect with the African continent.
Right, so it kind of made sense. So what are the benefits for the end user?
Well, we need to understand that in France, the African diaspora and all the person that has a link to Africa needs to connect with the continent. Sometimes instead of carrying with money transfer, would rather send goods, such as clothes, used clothes, it can be dry food, it can be toys, that has another life in Africa. In sub-Saharan country, we're talking about Senegal because that's the country we deliver in today. And we offer a specific approach to this. We offer a particular container, which is the barrel. We fit perfectly the need for clients because you don't really, the weight doesn't matter. You only think about the volume, and which is very, very important to our clients. Also, we have a different range of services that can fit our wallet. And yeah, as you say, we also put innovation in it. That's what we wanted. We always want to put innovation. So we have a website when you can order directly the type of barrel you want, the type of services, the delivery date of pickup, the pickup date also. Everything is included. You can pay on the website today. It's really the first freight website for individual. Our aim is to connect both continents in a secure and innovative way.
A quick word about La Poste. You were supported by them, right?
That's correct. La Poste has been incredible to us. I've never seen an entrepreneurial project like that. We've been incubated in a startup incubator for a year, and we had the chance to mix up with other entrepreneurs from other companies, and the benefit that La Poste was offering, never seen that elsewhere. We had the chance to mature our idea, to get support from professionals inside and outside the group, to think of our idea. They led us the time to have the reflection and mature the idea. Also, I think at the end we are convincing enough to went from a project inside an innovation department to a subsidiary. So now we're independent, but even then, we still keep an help from the group. It can be compliance, legal, marketing, communication. We have help from everyone. So we've been carrying all the way through. It was great.
That's brilliant. So how has your traffic evolved since its launch? And what are your expectations, just to conclude?
Well, it's doing good. We went through the pandemic, as everyone. So it was a real test to our services and our ability to adapt. We were growing last year. We aim to triple our revenue this year. We are 3% in the last few months. So it's a very small startup that is getting better and bigger with a lot of ambition. We are also lucky to have great partners in Senegal, such as Özyigit, which we're working, and PAPS. We ensure our delivery there.
Thomas, thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Asha. Thank you very much for having me.
This is great, Bernhard. So exciting times indeed for players like yourselves. So just very quick word to conclude this session, Bernhard.
Yes, I mean, as we've seen, the world is getting more and more complex. It is, but we have seen here really two exciting examples of applying new technologies, new services that help the customer. So with Afrik'easy and with PixoAnalytics, it's just two amazing solutions. Now the world is getting more complex, yes, but technology can help, as we have seen, the right technology. Unfortunately, I must say, if you look around many governments, many businesses, for many individuals, it's simply a barrier. to get those technologies, to master those technologies. So if the posts are able, let's say, to develop, to implement, to use these kind of technologies, I think that's then really part of their DNA as well. They can really become here an intermediary, powerful and an essential intermediary, and that's why it makes it so strong for them.
Right, that's great. Exciting innovations indeed, and thank you to both of you for being on the set with me today. Thank you very much.
Ready for our next sequence with Jean-Paul Forceville, who we are going to meet just in a couple of seconds. So we have already seen how posts are innovating as well. So we know that we are in an environment that is totally different. Jean-Paul, we know that it evolves more and more. So how is also the post adapting to your model? You are absolutely right, Asha. We know that sometimes we feel that we are helpless in the face of our competitors and the new demands of our customers. But we need to keep a cool head and look at the bigger picture. First of all, we know that posts have existed, and I've noticed that in my 40 years of career, we have seen how the post has also evolved. So we as post services, we have also adapted. We know that, well, in the 20th century, we adapted to new economic stakeholders and citizens and many things. So in this battle for performance and efficiency, what are the post assets? Just like water, electricity, and telephone, the post office is indispensable, but we don't realize it because it is so much a part of our daily lives. The health crisis and the disruptions that followed have created a real awareness of the needs that posts meet, specifically nowadays. An undisputed role of essential infrastructure with a major asset, that of being a human network, unlike the facilities. Posts are historic institutions. Right. We know that, well, in many countries we have also faced, let's say, the industrial revolutions of the 19th and 20th centuries that had adapted, for instance, to the emergence of fax. So we know that we who have stayed here, we have a infrastructure of public service for the benefit of a society with strong values, impartiality, equal access for all, everywhere, equal prices, general interest, and sovereignty. The post office has a real leadership, as we have seen with José ANSON. So that leadership somehow requires them to innovate, evolve, and to adjust. Right, absolutely. In a world that is now totally, let's say, connected, to put it that way, thanks to diversified communication methods, the posts are in line with technological developments and are constantly adapting to meet the need for interoperability between networks while respecting these missions. And we know that they also are entrusted with these missions and also with the resources that they are allocated. What are the challenges and expectations? The main challenges today are demographic, with a population that continues to grow, aging and increasingly urban population. We know that we have also the widespread use of digital technology, the growing share of e-commerce, customers demanding faster and cheaper services, and the need for sustainable development. All of that somehow requires us to do that. And also we have security needs, security of physical transport, security of data exchanges, also cyber attacks, protection of personal goods, and also to prevent, let's say, attacks again, and just to mention and name a few, and also security is important. So in this context, what is the post office doing in concrete terms? Posts have significantly transformed the industrial apparatus. More and more postal operations and those who are really just, let's say, are somehow surprised by our industrial progress. They are mainly, let's say, working with very modern facilities, with very powerful machines in order to recognize, let's say, handwriting and technology that is and has been developed over the last years, and which also allows us to improve our service. Furthermore, we have also, thanks to this technology, we have been able to also optimize our transportation costs and to also increase our speed and reliability of processing. And also you have developed your commercial network, absolutely. We have also strengthened it more and more. We have more and more networks in our French post. We have the more presence in the store or the town hall for us to be able to be closer to our users, because we know that we need to be to stay very close to these digital channels. But also we know that this trade has evolved, right? We know that we have the more and more mailmen and mail persons, so of course they take parcels and letters and packages and they make this distribution more reliable. At the same time, we have more and more electric vehicles and bicycles, which also allows us to minimize emissions. Jean-Paul, so you have selected a few initiatives that illustrate this movement by the post office. Yes, the testimonials that follow demonstrate the tremendous capacity to bounce back and the emergence of new postal companies capable of mobilizing technological and human resources to meet the expectations of customers, e-commerce, and sustainable development. And we know that the human factor is the first assets of Post, because at the end of the chain, like you said, we have someone who manages human resources as a performance lever. Yes, the human factor is a key performance factor. So I believe that our colleague, Franz Nigel, the HR director of the Austrian Post, is going to talk about this. Let's
Good morning, Mr. Nigel, and thank you for having accepted to take part in our event. Mr. Nigel, as Director of Human Resources at Austrian Post, could you tell us in a few words how the HR management policy of Austrian Post has been a lever to support the transformation of the company, like training, upskilling, employability?
Thank you. I'm very happy to take part in the Rendezvous for the future and to talk about our human resources management. But first, I would like to give you a short introduction into the development of Austrian Post and its way to one of the leaders in the industry in the European market. 10 years ago, we started to create a new strategy for our group. In the middle of all, the focus was market leadership in the core business, the continued growth towards defined markets, the efficiency improvements and increasing flexibility of the cost structure. We will talk about later more of them. That's the most important point for human resources, and the customer orientation and innovation. With a lot of measures, we have succeeded in efficiency changing the personnel structure, which looks this in 2020. The main point of our success was to change this structure, because the yellow part are the new contracted employees, and they are more than 40% cheaper than the old employees. And in this case, we was able to have another cost structure for all of our activities. Nowadays, we have changed also our strategy with the focus of 2030. Here in the middle of our strategy is the sustainability, and around of them the defending market leadership, the profitable growth in the near markets, and the development of retail and digital offerings for private customers. Now, the topic of the sustainability is the economical and customers, the environment and climate, and the people and social. And for the future, to be able to create another success story for Austrian Post, we have created a lot of measures for the culture change, to develop our employees, to train, to give them a new focus, a new possibility for the future. And we hope we can realize all of our targets with this program.
Austrian Post was awarded gold and silver awards for its campaign to attract young talents. Can you tell us more about the methods you use to attract young employees and apprentices?
Yes, we have created a lot of measures. For example, we are working on the improvement of the brand image of the Austrian Post. We seek cooperation with universities and colleges. We offer school internships and much more. Our employees are the most important brand ambassadors. We promote apprenticeship trainings. We spend much time and energy on onboarding new employees. We further the personal development. We offer a flexible and family-friendly working time model. And we offer an extensive healthcare program. And we provide our employees with a wide range of social benefits. So we are thinking we are one of the best employers of Austria.
What have been the priorities during the pandemic? What specific HR measures have you put in place?
First of all, here you see a lot of activities. First of all, the health of our employees is the highest good and most important for all of us. Postal services were one of these services to ensure the communication, the flow of goods, or the universal provision amongst the population in general. We have implemented many measures during the pandemic to protect our employees. We provide our employees with antiseptics, gloves and masks. The post offices were equipped with workplace protections. We have also increased the distance between each single workplace. We install a working model dividing employees into groups. We have increased the interval period of cleaning services. We undertake temperature measurement during the access control in the dispatch centers. Many of our administrative staff work from home. And that's the reason why we found a good way through the pandemic.
Mr. Nigl, thank you very much for your time and offering some illuminating insights into the HR department of Austrian Post.
Thank you. It was a pleasure for me to give our targets, our information of Austrian Post to you.
Now to talk about the territory and proximity to it and the challenge of the last mile. We now have Delphine Janico, who is in charge of the marketing of Orbi, a subsidiary of the French Post Office specialized in urban logistics. As you were able to see in this video, we know that e-commerce that is related to the dispatch that we do. We know that urban logistics is also important for us to be able to improve and our logistics and also to stop traffic and also to manage our companies. Right now, we know that Groupe La Poste operators are also working with parcels that are less than 15 kilograms. We know that right now we are meeting the needs of products that are above this 15 kilogram limit. We know that merchandise is also submitted to the peripheral area of our cities, and we are just trying to tear down the barriers that we have and limits, and for us to be able to also mutualize and to also have a different flow, different weights in our parcels, specifically from our, let's say, different assets and goods that we can take, let's say parfum, for instance. So the fact that we are part of Groupe La Poste, that allows us to also accelerate the use of our resources, as we know that we are also working around the metropolitan area. We know that the postal service also has a urban logistics with the metropole, and we are able to just reach the center of the city. And we know also that we have more and more consistency for all group operators, and that allows us also to improve everything that has been already conducted by Groupe La Poste. In the city, we have about 10% of what we have a short cycle or loop for us to be able to, let's say, just for us to be able to have closer storage areas, and also for us to be able to distribute, let's say, food products and all of that for these products to reach the center of the city. We also have this business model that also offers a very important value for our customers by implementing what we call these low emission operations. And also we know that sometimes it takes longer time, we have more traffic jams, and right now we're trying to just really lower emissions. We are currently using vehicles that are fueled by gas or electric vehicles for us to be able to also improve our fleet. We have professional packages such as cardboard, plastic, and also this is for what we call inverted packaging. And also we know that all of this becomes truth and improves our performance and our performance indicators, specifically when it comes to facing and improving our challenges in terms of the social and environmental matters. Finally, the major challenge of the performance of postal services lies in the improvement of processes, the security of operations, and the quality of service to the user. Yes, and this is the field of artificial intelligence, which will enable us to make spectacular progress. We'll see how a small package is already being transformed by AI. We're going to follow up on this package course. Let's go. Hello, one of our main objectives was for us to be able to remain profitable in our industry through our services. We have the services to address issues, our businesses, and for us to be able to introduce, let's say, everything that we have been doing with our classification service. As you were able to watch in our video, AI is going to help us to also improve all of our domains, specifically when it comes to users and customers. We have more examples. For instance, how can we help our postman to better prepare and how to really have a more or a better quality service, and also when it is received by the destination. And we can do this through our services. So in Europe, well, we know that also we are also trying to have, let's say, right now sometimes we may feel that there are certain things that we're not capable of doing, but with this AI, we're going to be able to also educate our staff to use it. These are tools that we may use specifically for users, specifically for all types of shipment that take a lot of time, but it is also reduced to only 10 minutes so that we can reach our clients. Also, we know that we will also just try to stay very close to everything that we do as part of our postal services. Thank you, Jean-Paul. The challenges are numerous, but we see that they are well identified and well managed. So we are going to address this when we are in the Q&A session. So I would like to remind everyone who is here with us, well, just take into account that, well, you can still submit your questions, and Jean-Paul is going to be able to reply to all of your questions. And also, we are going to address our social link with Elaine. She's going to address a social link. Elaine Delay. So right now, we're going to address one of the most important subjects. Right now, we know that this is one of the main pillars. And what really makes the social part, we know that it is also the postal service what carries good and bad pieces of news. So we know that Hélène Delahaye, she's going to also analyze this phenomenon. And Hélène Delahaye, she is a doctor she holds a PhD in sociology. She also holds different states, and we need to see at what point we can also really ensure this very important part. Hello, thank you so much for having me here. So, Hélène, you first wanted to explore the notion of the need for posts, which is becoming more prevalent everywhere. Yes, I am talking about specifically about what happens in France, but we know that we have a universal need for jobs. And this is something that we see amidst this crisis. And we know that the French Post Service was also, let's say, helped by its stakeholders so that our different postmen could just work and that we remain open. And we know that, of course, we need to qualify. That's what and also, what are we expecting? What is going to be the role of the postal service in terms of, let's say, physical, human role? And these needs need to be addressed as well based on a need or need of something, let's say, security, trust. And also we have asked our stakeholders about these needs. We have identified 4 of them that are in strong evolution. We have the need to be, let's say, close, to have this, let's say, postal presence, and also to have what we call, let's say, also some sort of follow-up. People would like to follow up on this, and also to increase trust. This has become very, very important. The digital world, specifically when it comes to data, this is very important as well. And another need is contribution. Let's say that the postal service can contribute to the development of the territory, and that it is also a, let's say, green responsible party, that it can allow circular economy. So you wanted also to focus on the connection in French society. So we know that this is happening in many other countries, according to the testimonials, but you're also talking about a deep transformation of the social link, and we need to find an answer. Right. I am not the only one who talks about what happens with this social link or social bond. I am not the only one who is just trying to see what is going on here. So actually, we know that we are in a globalized world and we have seen this explosion. So we are amidst a crisis. And of course, this has also shown that we have more and more mistrust. And also, I would like to address two important points about this evolution. First, we need to talk about the relationship to oneself and the relationship with others. In this evolution of this relationship to oneself, in this society, also, we know that we have a lot of individualist persons, and we have individuals and persons who need to express themselves, and they are now looking for their own ways to live their lives. And it's, well, certain sociologists have said that we are living in a society of individuals, but at the same time we need to have rapports with one another. So this need of individuals to find a way to express themselves, to react, to speak, and to trust in each other. So that's one of the main elements that, or the main contributions that is going to be made by the Postal Service. This is how we can react. And we know that, of course, we have these enterprises. And let's say if I'm just doing shopping, of course, I can just continue just with this financial and economic activity. And the second part that I mentioned is this crisis of having, let's say, a relationship with others. We know that the digital society and this development of technologies also has led us to, according to a great sociologist, he said that we have very weak bonds, very weak relationships that are more and more diffuse, are not as strong with families or friends. So we need to help them to strengthen these weak bonds, and on the other hand, also to create this type of links that are also making this social cohesion, let's say, weaker and weaker. But we know that we need to make use of this infrastructure, and also we need to select, let's say, a social rapport, and at the same time we need to have the social and territorial cohesion for us to be able to do all of this. All right, so after this development, elsewhere than in France, the post office, we know that plays its role in creating or maintaining social ties, especially in the period we are living through. So we are going to start this little world tour in Japan, where, as in many other countries, the post office fights against the isolation of the elderly, and this is what we will discover in the next sequence. Take a look.
Hello everyone, my name is Metoki Masahiko. I'm the Senior Vice President for International Affairs at Japan Post. I'm very honored to be able to participate in this event, Rendezvous with the Future, organized by La Poste France. Nowadays, Japan is a super-aged society. Isolation of elderly people is one of the most serious issues we are facing. In 2017, Japan Post started the Mimamori Home Visit Service for the safety and peace of mind of elderly people and their families. They usually live apart from each other. In this service, post office employees visit elderly people's homes regularly and check on their living conditions through face-to-face conversations. Then they inform family members of the elderly people and the local government office of the result by email or mail. The COVID-19 pandemic has reaffirmed the needs for frequent and continuous health monitoring and communications. In 2019, Japan Post launched the pilot project as a new Mimamori service in cooperation with local government offices using newly developed applications. These applications enable us to check on elderly people's living conditions through direct conversation with them in real time. Post office employees help customers install and use applications. They also follow up on customers through monthly face-to-face conversations. Japan Post will continue to contribute to maintaining ties, kizuna, in Japanese between people and society by adapting to the situation even amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Now I'd like to show you a promotional video about the service. I hope the great success of the event. Thank you very much.
母さん、なかなか帰れなくてごめん。
いいのよ、忙しいんでしょ。
ごめん。
ケンちゃん、部活は？
頑張ってるよ。勉強もあれぐらいやってくれたらね。
あんたがよく言うわよ。
風邪ひいてない？
元気元気。
本当？
本当よ。
一人で暮らす親を心配しない家族なんていない。
お邪魔します。
離れて暮らす家族をつなぐ郵便局の見守りサービス。顔を見て話すから分かることがある。
Now let's go to Vietnam, where the post office, in this context of health crisis, has ensured the distribution of pensions to seniors confined to their homes. Here are the images.
When the COVID-19 pandemic occurred, many organizations and businesses had to stop working or operate in moderation. Vietnam Post has implemented many new and innovative solutions to take a pioneering role in fighting the pandemic and to connect the whole community by providing essential postal services to all the people. One of the best initiatives of Vietnam Post is the payment of pensions, government subsidies, social insurance, payment for devotees, and social protection policies to the people at home. During COVID period, Vietnam Post made payments for more than 6 million beneficiaries with a total of 20,000 million dong, equivalent to nearly 900 million US dollar. In order to ensure the government's social security, support all the people to reduce difficulties in life, Vietnam Post works closely with the government and the local authorities to make the payment of pensions, subsidies, and social insurance for all the people, especially during the social distancing time. For those who do not have a bank account and receive payment in cash, Vietnam Post makes payment for them at home. In order to ensure the fast and safe payment for beneficiaries, Vietnam Post used computers, card readers, and arranged postal officials to each household to make the payment. Before going to pay at home, Vietnam Post cooperates with the local authorities to inform each beneficiary the time and the place of the payment to avoid queuing and gathering in big crowds. Postal officers prepare the amount of money to pay each person faster and to shorten the contact time. The payment is made in each route, each area, and each village. Postal officers also make payment for the people in all working days, on weekends, and public holidays. The payment is conducted in the community with a high risk of the COVID infection, so Vietnam Post officials strictly follow the disease prevention for themselves and also provide the customer with the prevention measures, such as keep hygiene, providing hand sanitizers and masks to customers. After this period, for those who have not yet received the payment at home, they can go to the post office and receive the money. Or in case that they want to receive money earlier than the payment plan, they can bring their payment card or the payment book with their ID cards to receive money at the post office. with a mission to serving the community and promote the leading role of the national postal operator. Vietnam Post is committed to continuing providing fast, accurate, and safe payment services to all the people at any time during the COVID outbreak.
Vietnam Post, delivering more.
I wanted to share the interventions of two leaders of the post office who could not be with us today. They illustrate in a striking way this incredible need for the post office. First, I invite you to follow Isaac Nambayao, the Director General of the Ivory Coast Post Office. Hello, everyone. I would like to thank our organizers for this great initiative. Especially, I would like to thank Mr. Philippe WAHL and Groupe La Poste in France. And I would like to also thank my friend Jean-Paul Forceville, who is part of this activity for a long time, and his team. And also, I would like to thank all organizers for making this possible. And also, I would like to just send you our greetings from the Côte d'Ivoire Post Office. And well, this is to address what happens with this post office and how to ensure this social bond. This is a very important subject because I remember that after also having sent certain documents over the post service, I noticed that one of the main roles of the postal service officers is to create the social bond amidst the population, between the population and the government. And also, this is the type of subject that we can address. We can address the initiatives related to the Ivory Coast Post Office and how we're going to work and how we justify that the post office is able also to create or ensure that we keep the social bond amongst the population and the government, the social bond, because through this postal service we can make sure that the whole population or the population as a whole is not apart from this state policy and politics. So we know that in Ivory Coast or Côte d'Ivoire, we have a very strategic plan where we can just somehow give you a summary of this plan that we have in our Côte d'Ivoire post office, how citizens also work as companies in the state. We know that the post service could also somehow work and just work all over and throughout the country to also create a link between the population and the government, because we can also have more, let's say, all type of benefits. We have a main focus to have all kinds of benefits and advantages, and for us to be able to give administrative services to citizens. Every country has its own limits also in terms of evolution. In Côte d'Ivoire, well, right now we have a lot of members of our population who need to just really transfer all over the country to just have, let's say, all kinds of clerical work, let's say, to get all of their birth certificates, marriage certificates. And we know that because of that, the postal services, again, the social bond between the management services and the population. Why not just using these postal offices as the point of service and care? Let's say we may do all of this so that all citizens can just do all of this clerical work. They can just pay a small fee and then they can do that as part of the service at their closest or at their nearby postal office. And for them to be able to just reach the citizens and also to provide them with an infrastructure, a technology that can allow them also to just make use of this solution. Also, this type of activities that we have, this is also something that is going to help us as part of this Ivory Coast government or Cote d'Ivoire government for us to be able to meet our SDGs as well. And we know that the post office needs to make sure that we have this global and social inclusion, and for us to be able to ensure this global link and this, again, management and administrative work and clerical work. And again, the post office is going to be a service for citizens, for them to get information and just for us to be able to reach the population at large. Another point is it's also related to the digital inclusion. We know that, well, in sub-Saharan countries in Africa, sometimes we have some difficulties when it comes to ranking regarding also our digital maturity. And also this is the company that is going to be able to address all of this for us to be able to give more digital matters for the population. We can use our network for us to be able to provide digital services. And in order to do that, the post office connects, let's say, startups specifically to develop applications. And in terms of social inclusion, we also need to take into account the financial inclusion. And also we need to take into account this financial inclusion and also financial education in our population, because that's a very important element that we have in the area. Sometimes we know that there are certain parts of the area that are not inside the city limits, so we need to reach our population. We need to make sure that they also have this financial education. We are working for us to be able to be more positioned and for us to be able to have this financial inclusion. And lastly, to finalize this, we can just confirm our position to just ensure this social link so that the population becomes more and more modern and sophisticated with this technology. We know that our population is doing this, so we need to make sure that we are also working for us to be able to somehow help with these transactions, even though if these are online transactions that are done over the internet, we need to also continue with these processes for us to be able to confirm that, let's say, a certain transaction has taken place. I would like to thank our organizers for making this possible and for giving this opportunity to the Côte d'Ivoire Post Office to share this matter today. Thank you so much. And I would like to greet all of our World Postal family. And finally, Khalil Daoud, President of Live Post, shows us how posts can be at the heart of the action to safeguard the link between people, communities, and territories. I had the opportunity to discuss with him, but I suggest you to watch this short film that precedes the interview. Good morning. We watched this video with images that speak for themselves. And well, we would like to see what was the role of Live Post. How did you get organized to make sure that all of this could work? Hello, thank you. So after watching this video, this is just to give you the context of what we were doing in Lebanon. And this is not just an explosion. Well, we know that, of course, this affected the whole country. We were in a financial crisis, and we did all of this as part of the pandemic. And furthermore, in this pandemic, with this pandemic, we just somehow highlighted the issues that we had in Lebanon. So first and foremost, it is important to learn that, we just needed to make sure that all of our employees have not been affected by this explosion. Unfortunately, one of our employees passed away during this explosion, and we also have some other employees who were hurt or injured after this, as this happened. Once we worked on this, after we counted our lives, we also started to take a look at the damage after this explosion in the population. We were in a state that is under this type of situations. First and foremost, we made sure that we just could continue with the service. We were doing all of this with the different bands that were just used for us to be able to continue providing the service. That was the main objective that we had, just for us to be able to just continue with the packages and the letters that we could recover. We just needed to make sure that we could just recover them all from the debris and to get all of these papers documents that we got from that. Of course, once we were just accounting for everything, we just realized that we could not recover it all. The third objective was for us to be able to just serve our customers, and we just, of course, needed to visit some properties that were in debris, and we just needed to make sure that everything was in place. We asked, let's say, if we could not reach the person, we would ask and reach for their neighbors. And also we have other stakeholders who took part of this for us to make sure that we could reach our customers even to their temporary homes. And of course, we had to contact the sender. And also how to run into this type of situation. Just think about the impact of this explosion in a society that had to stop most of its activities. Of course, trade had to be suspended and seized for a long time. And I would like to thank everyone, also the management of the Post, who just decided to continue with the service regardless of the cost at any expense. So we did not have to minimize or cut down our wages as it would be natural in this type of cases. So in consideration of this explosion, we just needed to remedy all of this. So the crucial role of the Lebanon Post was, of course, amidst a very complicated situation. It was a very complex circumstance. Unfortunately, we know that we also had the crisis, and Lebanon Post is one of the most innovative post offices that we have seen. How are we going to, can you please tell us, how did you get adapted to this COVID-19 pandemic specifically? Well, at first, I think that every action that any other post office took all over the world, of course, we need to prevent the infection. And of course, now concerning clients, of course, it was a challenge. We were required to also produce a short video just showing how we operated under those conditions for the public to watch it. We also worked in showing how we treated our employees under such circumstances, and also to somehow, let's say, have our postmen also treated and protected before they reach our customers' houses. And how would be the protocol for them to deliver letters, for instance? Of course, whenever you are amidst a pandemic, you do not want people to go to your house. So how are you going to allow people to go to your house? So we needed to really stay in touch and in close communication with our customers. And lastly, we started with the vaccination for our employees and they got adapted. And lastly, we started to breathe because, of course, having our employees protected and vaccinated, of course, that improves the situation after we had this vaccination. So also, this is specifically for medical products. If this is fully equipped or not. Unfortunately, we did not have, let's say, the sufficient number of vehicles or optimal conditions for us to provide the service. So we needed to just work and accelerating the process to do all of this and for us to be able to deliver these medical products. Thank you so much, Khalil Daoud, for this testimonial. No, thank you so much for giving me the chance to talk. So, Elaine, we know that these testimonials are very moving. So, we know that we are confronted with the same issues regardless of the geography. That is true. This is something that is quite revealing. We know that there is a very, let's say, huge situation that is missing in the society. We know that we need to have more willingness from, of course, from the population. The population is mistrusting, and we know that the postal services needed to create this trust in a very efficient way. Thank you so much, Elaine. We have come to the end of this program. Thank you so much for being here with us. We have come to the end of this program. We have explored all the needs of positions and put into perspective the challenges facing the UPU and all its members. Now it's time to ask your questions to Jean-Paul Forceville, and see you soon. We are here back. Thank you so much, Ellen. Thank you so much. And also, Metoki Nabayawi Daoud. Now I am here again with Jean-Paul. Once again, welcome back. So, well, you know that we have talking about, well, from the very beginning of this streaming, we have also collected a lot of questions in all languages, English, Spanish, Portuguese, French. I do not speak French or Spanish, but we have colleagues in our team. They have helped us to translate the questions. So let's start with a couple of ones. So maybe we can talk about innovation. Innovation that also took a great deal of this streaming. So how is the UPU going to use innovation? So I believe that UPU is just waiting for us to work on innovation. For instance, I see reflections on the development and the plan of the postal service and the postal technology as well. So I believe that international law for the benefit of all members needs to address innovation and its utilization amongst all members. But I believe that this is something that we need to continue doing. And for us to be able to continue instilling this culture of innovation, we're going to have a very well recently created task force with a startup like we saw it. We can get more ideas to progress and to also just take part in as part of this innovation, as part of this postal service. So the next question from Stefano Gori.
So could you explain how do you foresee the future in international cooperation to maintain the USO all across the world, one territory? La Poste has been historically a major player in helping fellow postal offices to improve the quality of mail. Will the UPU continue to play a crucial role in this domain?
We do hope so. And it is in the core of what we try to do inside the UPU for years, to cherish and develop and make more sustainable this global network, interconnect the designated operators, and be able to give the opportunity to all the citizens of this world to exchange letters, parcels, etc. So this is one of the core mission of the UPU for sure.
I hope it answers your question. So another question here from Yao Melo. So posts are entering the COVID era because COVID will stay with us for a long time, unfortunately. So what will be the greatest change for postal industry caused by this pandemic?
I'm not surprised by this question by Joe. But do we have 1 hour to answer to this?
No, we don't have 1 hour. We have a couple of minutes.
Yeah, of course, but it is an excellent question and many answers. Keeping aside the influence on the volumes, decreasing of mail, increasing of e-commerce, we have covered that already, I think, today. But also, I think that it's been a moment where many governments have rediscovered the post and what they could expect from the post, or when the post stops, what is lacking in a society. And I hope that the governments will not forget this. Many services have been done, including transporting vaccines or transporting food to isolated citizens, or getting the connection with the people in this pandemic, people isolated during the pandemic. So there is a large range, and we have, maybe at the end of the crisis, as soon as possible, sit back and spend some time to draw all the conclusions to this major crisis.
Okay, so you didn't take 1 hour. That was good. Okay.
So, how important is security? I know that you have already addressed this, right? We have already addressed this matter or subject of security. We know that this is something that is crucial, specifically when transporting merchandise. I'm not going to get into the details, but we need to see how states wish to learn more about everything that gets to their houses before they reach them, so that they can get protected, let's say, before a certain hazardous or dangerous, let's say, shipment gets to the territory, let's say through, let's say, what we call passenger planes or aircraft. So this is the type of things that we need to take into account, and that remains one of our top priorities. And also data security, that is also very important, and also the RGPD, and how can we protect, let's say, personal data. That is crucial. Of course, that does not make our life easy, no. The main purpose is to do all of this because we know that, for instance, for us to be able to get security, we need to also submit data to our country, and this data, is this based on RGPD or not? And we need to just, of course, continue to regulate certain things that are still, let's say, open-ended for the benefit of everyone, both in terms of physical security and personal data protection. Right, you have already addressed all of this. So another subject, we know that what happens with sustainability, we have addressed. This is one of the main challenges that the post service is facing. So I'm sorry if I'm being a little bit repetitive, but the post office, a lot of post offices have done a lot. They have gone a long way in terms of sustainable development, in terms of sustainable transportation, for instance. That's just a part of it. If we talk about the post office that I work with, well, we are somehow offsetting our carbon emissions since 2012. So one of the main challenges is something that, well, we need to reach by 2030. But right now we're doing that. But we will continue to just, of course, decrease our emissions more and more. And of course, we need to stop them, in fact. But we are responsible. Our president has also requested us to really be aware of this transportation responsibility that we bear. And also we need to work all together in this program that we have from, let's say, UPU, and we need to continue working all together just amidst the UPU and the union for us to continue improving our situation in terms of sustainable development. So what happens with empowerment? You have addressed this. What is going to be the role of the post office in terms of the empowerment of people? Look, we know that post offices protect the right to communication, let's say. Of course, we think about telecommunications, we think about internet, and reading communication is important. And well, in certain months or weeks, we have said that, of course, if you would like to actually be certain about being heard, you need to write. If you want to be heard, you need to write. That is something that is very true. So this right to communication, this exchange, and also we are part of the protection of that right, and we will continue to do so.
Are postal organizations everywhere as independent from political authorities, as you've mentioned? It's a little bit tricky.
No, not really tricky. It's a fact that in some countries, posts are state bodies, and it's natural when politicians change that they want to have change in the post as well. And we have known that here as well. It has changed. The problem is when the turnover is too important. Because if you change every 3 years the policy of your postal operator, it is a big challenge to build the future.
Mm-hmm.
So having some mandates longer, it's better, and we've seen that in Europe, we've seen that all over the world. No, it's not a tricky question, but now more posts are privatized, more posts are independent from the state, and I think it is probably better for the future.
And that's the way ahead.
For their future, yes, exactly. Yeah.
Right. So we have another question here from Boton Sebeni. I don't know if I'm pronouncing well.
Oh,
Based on your wide experience of more than 10 years as Post-Europe chairman, what are the key learnings to be used for best supporting the future development of the global public postal network?
Well, Boton is the Secretary General of Post Europe, and
thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching, Boton. This is a good one. What I have learned at Post Europe is to deal with a member-driven organization. And UPU is a member-driven organization. It's for the benefits of the members. Of course, it's easier when it is 53 members than it is 192 members. There is a big difference. But more seriously, I think I have learned that you're never right alone. It's always better to build consensus. It's more sustainable if you are able to build consensus. And in a way, it is what also in some recent event we've been through at the UPU, it's also what I have tried to do. to build consensus on tricky issues. Sometimes you say you'll never be able to go to this, but yes, you see what you want to go and you try to lead people together to the consensus, because the consensus is really at the base of fundamental for the UPU, fundamental for post-Europe. Last thing I would like to say on this is the importance of the restricted unions of the UPU. The TIB burn is important, but also the restricted unions are closer to the members. They have less countries or posts to deal with, so it's more connected, it's more tailor-made, and it can be sometimes more efficient.
Great.
Hi, Perry McWest. What is going to be the next strategy of UPU to ensure the distribution? So I think that we have already addressed this. Thank you so much, Pierre. We are going to give you a piece of news here. Well, yes, this is a very important subject. As a matter of fact, we need to be the best one in the last mile, of course. We need to also find what is the essence of our emission in terms of distribution. This is not easy to do. However, we need to continue being very efficient, and not only where we see a space for us to do that. No. We need to be good overall. We cannot have any sort of, let's say, situation. We need to feel comfortable. We need to be more efficient. We need to pay closer attention as well to our labor force, workforce. We need to just somehow assure a future. This is what makes the difference as well. And also, like I mentioned, we need to make a distribution during the last mile without emissions. Also, we have another question. This has been a great agenda, Jean-Paul. Can we somehow, we as the country, help the post office to face this challenge? Well, UPU cannot do it all. Of course, we need to somehow have certain, let's say, to make this more possible, so that information circulates, so that we have this operation and all of these pieces. So I believe that is in this world of new technologies, we also could somehow, we can just have a leapfrog approach to be able to reach others, because technology allows us to do that. We know that the government is here to somehow, let's say, give more means to operators and also to finance this development. But of course, we know that the International Bureau or Office, meaning the UPU, has, of course, done everything in his hands to distribute information. So we have another question. What is your future vision? So I think that the question here is, if I am, let's say, somehow elected as the member. So I believe that the role, the main role, we have already addressed this after we address the situation in Europe, but it is to help members to somehow express themselves. This is not easy. We have smaller or bigger countries, smaller and bigger offices, so every one of these members need to contribute with their own knowledge, and we can find also certain solutions. And also, I have been nourishing myself from everything that you have shared. We're talking about this universal postal mindset that we are sharing today. This is member driven, so that means that we know that they are the ones who are going to make the decisions in the end, but the role of a president of the COP is also going to lead us to this decision. And there are going to be many times where we need to also make decisions, as countries are not going to manage to do all of this with these exceptional situations. So we have just a couple more minutes. This is very quick. So we have a very quick question. What are the key messages that we have? Because we know that we have had these 2 hours of streaming with a lot of participants. So what are your closing remarks? I would like to thank everyone who joined us today. To be honest, I missed my human warmth from our postal colleagues. Of course, we need to keep and preserve this. We can continue discussing with a lot of passion about the future of this sector to address everything that is, let's say, stronger and stronger. And whatever is keeping us apart, we need to just tear down those barriers and stay closer. We know that, of course, I know that you also expect this from us. Different countries expect this from us. We have a lot of challenges that are absolutely important. We cannot just somehow cave in. We need to continue facing them, and I believe that all over the world we have people with goodwill who would like to continue helping the postal service to move forward and strive. This is a key piece of the life and society of humans. So it does not matter if this is a one-on-one or face-to-face or virtual meeting. Well, anyway, I hope that we can continue with this discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And so, Rendezvous with the Future has reached its end. So we would like to thank all of our participants, our speakers as well. So if you have many more questions like you saw today, well, we are going to have Jean-Paul and everyone just answering our questions. This is going to be available